Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 12th of April, comes to you from London. And quite a lot of red on the screen. Big falls in Asia, which we'll talk about. We'll start by looking at currencies, and then we'll look at stock markets, commodities, precious metals, and we'll take a look at the COVID stats last of all, just to see how that's affecting things. So we start by looking at the dollar, remembering this is my long-term, medium-term, and short-term view of the market, weekly, daily, and 60-minute charts with the corresponding point and figure targets. And so we see that the dollar seems to have found a floor last week. That's just showing up in the 60-minute chart where we're starting to wander through. So the medium-term trend continues. So dollar strength should become a theme again this week. And that means that we're seeing euro turning over, rolling over, euro weakness coming to the fore. Sterling sitting at 137.27 at the moment, and that's been weaker against what was also a weak dollar. So sterling weakness was a factor last week, and the same against the euro, but we're just starting to see a kick up there. It looks like it might have found a floor at about 115. Bitcoin has broken the $60,000 mark, so that's really significant. We've got good upside targets. It's really clear here. We've got 76,000, 107,000. So we are seeing cryptocurrencies coming back to the fore. And I should declare that I have some interest in Ethereum, but we're seeing here that looking stronger. The S&P 500 index was up on Friday, and the Nasdaq also looking stronger, not yet breaking to new highs. That high that we saw back in March. End of February, we've really got to break above that level to be confident, and we're seeing the futures down 0.25% on the S&P this morning, and the Nasdaq future down by 0.2%. The VIX volatility has kicked up slightly, but it's still very low at 17 as the level. So markets are still taking everything in their stride. The FTSE futures down nearly 0.2% this morning, and the DAX in Germany is flat. The CAC 40 is flat. Europe really wedged between falls in Asia and potential flat to rising in the US. So all eyes really waiting to see how the US opens the week. Japan was down 0.3%. The Hang Seng was down 1%, the same for China, but the real story was India was down 3.5%, and that's really quite interesting because we posted on LinkedIn on Friday whether the virus stats in India were starting to have an impact on the market, and sure enough, we've seen today that we're starting to see that impact. So it just shows that the virus stats can be quite useful in reading risk in the market. Taking a look at the Aussie market, down just 0.3% there, and looking now at gold, sitting at 17.39, flat but still bullish above the cloud here. It looks like it found a floor. The slightly higher low and the slightly higher high providing some respite there, and silver also just holding on to its bull trend just. Looking at yields, we're sitting at 1.65 on the 10-year yield. Trended down last week, but still very strong on those medium and longer term trend breaks. And the 30-year T-bond, much the same picture. We do have a downside target not yet activated. Keep an eye on those shorter term charts if you're trading bonds. Taking a look at the energy mix now, we put our report out to clients this morning. The big one will be Brent Crude. There is a triangle pattern going on here, and it looks like we are going to see some break this week. The beauty of a triangle is you start to see the lines are meeting, something has to happen, and I would not be surprised to see a break low. I've got targets in both directions, but you need to wait for the break. The same with Brent Crude, WTI, much the same picture. US nat gas looking a bit better, having risen above the cloud, so looking stronger there with upside targets. And coal had a failed break last week, but does seem to be finding some support, especially on the longer term charts. Emissions still looking pretty strong, and we've made our bull and bear calls in the report to clients this week. The same with German power and Nordic power, recovering but still has downside targets, so that's quite interesting. Taking a look at the COVID cases now, we start by looking at cases, and we see that the UK continues to fall, opening up of pubs, outside catering today. So really big, and non-essential retail now opening as well. So the UK starting to return back to normal, but really interesting to see whether that will have an effect on these charts in the coming weeks. And we see that Germany's case is still rising. France, I mean, really quite interesting that we are at some 25 times higher than in the UK, in France, and in Germany, 10 times higher number of cases per million. So that's really interesting. Looking at the mortality rates, the UK is at 0.53, France again is at 4.4, so that's 9 times higher, and Germany some 5 times higher. So really interesting. But spare a thought for Brazil, where their death rate is rising and looking very worrying indeed. And if we take a look at the vaccine rates, we're at 20% now in Europe, so we are seeing a bit of a catch-up. Bulgaria is still a long way behind, but most countries now getting near that 20% level. The UK starting to get near the 60% level, so still maintaining its lead on vaccines. That's it for today. Keep an eye on what happens for the US market. That's going to be the real key. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.